Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors. Get funky, Emily.
Perfect scenario will win again. You'll be unbeaten after 3. Captured by Love, contribute in front though, and the local here will win.
Kira, good morning. Welcome to Weigh In on a Monday morning here in New Zealand. If you're watching further afield, thank you for joining us. I hope you had a great weekend. No Emily Bosson today, as you could see from our playoff. She is competing in the Franklin County Fair Ballroom Dancing Championships. She ran 6th last year. By the way, just full disclosure, Opie does not participate. Emily has a dancing partner as well, and we wish her the best of luck. It's a really big week for her, so good luck to you, Em. We are Sons, one of the queens of New Zealand racing, out the queen, in with a wizard. Warren Kennedy is our co-host today. Warren, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in, mate.
Morning, Mick. Morning to the viewers. Thanks for the call-up. It's lovely to be here. Wishing Em all the best. Glad she's not with Opie on that, because that would definitely be badly handicapped then. But good luck to her, and just happy to be on the show.
Have you ever co-hosted a television show before?
No, never. Okay. Never in my life.
Either have I, so this is going to be interesting. We'll see how we go. We're going to ask Warren about some of his choices for this week at Te Rapa. Huge day coming up there. He had to choose between Crecchetti and, of course, Waitak. I think you know which way he went. But before then, we're going to go back over the weekend and talk about some of the races around the country. Warren was riding at Taranaki. Not with a great deal of success. It was hard to find winners down there because young Ciel Butler was the star of the show. One of the local girls taking out 2 of the features. Let's go back to the first of those, the Taranaki Cup. It's their big race for the year. And the locals, Robbie Patterson and his apprentice Ciel, take it out with Contribute.
Sass Bombers thundering home. Contribute takes the lead in the cup. St. Alice, Hi-Yo Sass Bombers starting to fly. Contribute the leader. Hi-Yo Sass Bombers starting to roar home. Contribute in front though, and the local mare will win. Contribute has won the Dennis Wheeler Earth Moving Taranaki Cup. The 2 local mares, 1 and 2.
Nothing like a local winning a cup for a good hometown buzz. It's even been doubled down on because the second horse also trained in the region. And Robbie Patterson, who took Puntura out of this race. Puntura was going to go to this race. He won the Group 1. Of course, the Thorndon, he's heading to the Group 1 at Otaki. So a nice substitute performer here. And talking about substitutes, Ciel was not down to ride the horse. Stable number 1 jockey Craig Grills was. Craig couldn't make the weight because he'd been sick last week, so he couldn't sweat out all the excess he needed to. His partner, Ciel, getting the call up, and well done to the stewards. They said, usually we wouldn't allow a senior jockey to be replaced by an apprentice. Ciel rides the horse all the time, therefore we will let her do the job. And she did it very well. Well done to her. We'll talk more about her in a second. Smart decision there, Warren, from the stewards to show that respect. I know usually they go senior for senior. In this case, I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, absolutely. And good on Ciel. You know, she does a lot of work that side. I don't know her that well, but she does a lot of the work. Craig gets a lot of the glory. He's stable choice jockey. For her to replace him and to prove her worth, you know, that's what apprentices want, to be able to show their worth. And she showed it there. I mean, she rode a cracking race and a well-deserved first stakes win for her, I believe.
Yep, that 40th career victory. She goes from 3 kilos to 2 kilos as her allowance. You were on St. Alice. I thought pretty good. She looked to be off the bit a fair way from home, which a lot of horses were on that track on Saturday.
Yeah, it was. Look, I only had the 2 rides on the day. St. Alice was my first. For me, you know, it rained on the day, and that's never a good thing for the racetracks. It became a little bit shifty underfoot. Wasn't dangerous at all, but it just became shifty, and you're going to have horses that were going to handle it or they weren't going to handle it. And St. Alice, she copped it all right. You know, she got through it okay, but like you said, off the bridle a long way out, which isn't like her. She's normally a filly that travels up pretty good on the bridle. Once she hit the turn at about the 800, she sort of lost her way a little bit, and she just struggled from there to really gain momentum again. But to take nothing away from the winner, was a fantastic win.
Often when you see those horses who aren't handling the wet track, what is the key? Is the key to try and keep them on the bridle as long as you can to give them that confidence? Because once they get off it, their wheels just seem to spin.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. You want to keep them on the bridle and help them through that going as best as you can. All pace dependent. Obviously, sometimes they crawl a little bit and you're able to be on the bridle quite nicely and then sprint up. And you can't give away distance, you know, so you've got to try and keep up with them, and you could get off the bridle a lot earlier than you wanted to, and your horses will, like you say, wheels are spinning, and it becomes difficult. You either get those horses that can get through it really well, some you have to help through, and some just don't get through it at all.
Because you come from South Africa, and I don't know the weather patterns of where you were riding, did you ride on a lot of heavy tracks over there?
No, not really. You know, we only have really sort of 3 stages of racing. It's either the going is firm, good, or soft. You know, we never got to the heavy and that sort of stage. But
How have you found it then? How have you found the process? Because a heavy New Zealand track can be really heavy. How have you found that process, and how does it affect your riding?
Look, I think I've adapted to it pretty well. I remember my first meeting at Matamata, where it was a heavy 10. I went down, being South African, I was like, are we riding on this? I looked at all the jockeys, like, is this for real? And they just, like it was a normal day. I was like, okay, well, let's do it. But the difference between South African tracks and New Zealand tracks is you've got natural tracks here. There's natural growth and natural bases. South African tracks mostly have a concrete base. So when there's a lot of rain and it becomes heavy, they end up going right through and hitting that base, which becomes a bit dangerous. So we don't really race on the heavy tracks, but yeah, they're natural tracks, so it's bottomless. So the horses will get through it as they should without any harm, because they're not hitting any concrete below. So you get through these tracks pretty good. I mean, it was a bit of an adaptation for me. Like I said, I was like, are we really doing this? But yeah, horses don't falter, and they get through it pretty good.
Okay, let's talk about CL Butler's other major win for the day. There were 4 major races there, 3 black type, but also an open class sprint. And this one absolutely bolts in. This is the 4th on the card. Good Horse, who ran 3rd in the Telegraph last year. If in doubt, get out. Warren mentioned some horses handle the tracks, some horses don't. When the good horses like this in front do, well, this is what can happen.
Going to pull off the plunge of the year. 6, 7, 8 lengths in front of Seamus, and if in doubt, get out. There was never any doubt. It's trotted in and won it by almost 10 lengths. Seamus was second, Ladies Man to third, followed by He's a Doozy. Further back, the fearless one,
Yep, the money was on, trained by Tracy Bliss. So again, one of the locals getting the job done, and a horse who's actually been a pretty good horse. Raced, as I said, against some of the best last year behind Levante and Co. Ran 3rd in the Telegraph, and on this sort of conditions, once the rain came, the money came, and well, Warren, they don't want much easier than this. It must be nice when this happens. You get to be in front by this far.
Geez, yeah, of course. Look, clever ride by CL, I thought. There were a couple of fancied horses that were carrying a bit of weight. She had the 3 kilo claim, and she said, let's put them to the sword. And she went a good pace from the beginning, and look, that horse just found more and more, and he got through that really good. And you could see the other horses with the weight, their wheels were spinning around that last turn. They were really struggling, and they wanted to make up the ground. They knew that she was getting away from them, but they weren't able to do it, and nothing away from the horse. It loved that going, and it cruised through it, and well, won by like 8 lengths. It was.
Congratulations to you, CL. That's a great day for you. As mentioned, your 40th career success. As Warren mentioned, your first black type success. Lots of people down there in the Naki thrilled for you. In the 2-year-old race, it was a return to normal service, because last week, surprisingly on Karaka Million Night, Team Tiaka couldn't snare the big one for once. This time, back to the $100,000 listed Taranaki Classic, and they do get this one with a very, very good filly who, to be honest, I'll get Warren's opinion, I'm not sure she handled the track. Maybe her class gets her home.
But she is pulling out plenty, and she'll be unbeaten after 3. Captured by Love to beat second Love Poem, and third over Kaysra Bay. They were followed across the next time.
Not entirely sure, Warren, she enjoyed the wet track, but I think she's a pretty good filly. I think the second horse is also a very good filly. Now, you've ridden Captured by Love. I know that was a while ago, but what sort of feel did she give you?
Yeah, she gave me a good feel. I remember when I won it, I jumped straight off, and this is a stakes horse, you know, so it's good to see her get it. Look, I don't think she handled that track at all. Like I said, it had got a bit shifty underground, and I think she just struggled. You know, she's a filly that can really travel up on the speed pretty good, and Opie was at her at the 700 already just to keep her in the race. She never really found her footing and quickened like she can. Really good win. Just her class got a 3-year, definitely, I think.
When you talk about riding a horse, because predominantly they go more or less the same speed, most horses go 110 for 1200 or 112. What gives you the feel on a juvenile like that they're a stakes horse? Is it the way they move, the way they breathe? Is it the acceleration behind the saddle? What gives you that feel we just spoke about?
Yeah, it's a number of things. You know, obviously the 2-year-olds, they can be really green first time out. Like she was sat outside the leader and she didn't cop the corner very well, but she was very well put together. Her mannerism was very good. She covered the ground really well. She had a good acceleration on her. All those sort of things come into effect, and you ride so many good horses, you can feel when you're on another good horse. You know, it helps when you do ride those good horses that you have sort of a baseline of what is expected and where those horses can go.
Okay, well, talk about where she's going. She's going to the Matamata Breeders' Stakes. It'll be a very strong race. Now, on the same day as the Matamata Breeders' Stakes, in the boys' race that day, her stablemate Move to Strike will also go around. Both horses are going to be aimed at the Sistema. That's on the last day, March 9th, of the carnival out of Ellerslie. So head-to-head, Captured by Love versus Move to Strike, and a whole bunch of other good horses, of course. Ferocious, Bellatrix Star, those sort of horses can be in play as well for those featured juvenile races coming up. So some very, very good juvenile racing as we double down for the Karaka eligible horses and some of these horses who are purchased in Australia to give us who's going to be a champion 2-year at some stage. The clubhouse leader on that, of course, is Velocious. Talking about moving parts, well, let's get to the Oaks Prelude, the Grange Williams Stud Oaks Prelude, because there's a lot of moving parts to our major 3-year-old races. This one is the fillies. This is the girls over the 1800 metres. Kanshi gets the job done for exiled stallion Mongolian Khan. Let's talk afterwards about the permutations of this and what it's all going to mean.
Shanti Lace is starting to stretch the legs late. Can she hit the lead? Shanti Lace's diving missed. Can she has won it from Shanti Lace, who was so brave. Third over Moonlight Magic and fourth in the...
I'm not sure if it's Can she or Can't she, Mongolian Khan. I'll go Can't she. We can go Can she if you want it to be. Fraser or Rhett probably calling it the Stable Star now because that was a good performance. Looks an Oaks type of horse. Just on your one, Warren, you're on a pretty good horse there, Arabian Songbird, but at the 800, clearly she wasn't up for the wet track.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my worry going into the race. She's a really light filly, and her wheels were spinning going past 1,000 already. Once she took that final turn, there was no horse left underneath me, and she just really struggled to get through it.
Okay, so the winner was pretty good. Shanti Lace, really good in second. She's been in every bun fight you can possibly imagine, so she's done a good job to keep trucking at her best form. And I thought the third horse, who's only a maiden, Opie Bosson, picked up the ride there after a couple of scratchings. It was pretty good too. So black type shared around. Now, the Oaks, it was an Oaks Prelude. What does it mean for the Oaks? Well, there's lots of Oaks news coming up. This is mid-March at Trentham. Seems a long way away. It will come around pretty quickly. Okay, we'll go from the top. Spoke to Team Wellwood James this morning. They said orchestral is very unlikely for the Oaks. Very. Orchestral's movements. Avondale Guineas next week. Potentially into the New Zealand Derby. That's the race they are targeting. If something went wrong there, they would change tack and go to the Bone Crusher on March the 9th, then to the Vinery. The Vinery at Rose Hill, the race that Prowess won last year. That's orchestral. Molly Bloom spoke to Lance O'Sullivan yesterday. He said Oaks, extremely unlikely, almost no chance. So stick around for this because it's going to change all the markets. Molly Bloom goes to the Alice Classic this Saturday at Te Rapa. She then has the option to go to a bunch of different races. She could go potentially to the Vinery in Sydney. She could, now Lance, this surprised me, told me she could even go for a spell because they are considering the options of Sydney or heading to Brisbane, but they are not at this stage suggesting she'll be in the Derby. Things can change, but they're not thinking she'll be in the Derby or the Oaks. So two of the favourites here could be missing. Also going to the Alice Classic this week is Mary Shan. Andrew Forsman said, we will make our decision after this week, but the Oaks is not a certainty. It's not the race we're targeting her for. She has lots of other options, and she is a horse who's still strengthening up. So there is huge doubt over the top two in the market and doubt over the third favourite for the Oaks. Warren, as a jockey, where does that put you? What's the case and who does the work for you on saying, this may be missing, I might go here for something like an Oats market, which is very much in play?
I'll just watch Wayne and watch what McEwen has to say.
Well, I'm glad someone watches.
Yeah, look, it's you know, it's really hard to follow where the horses are going because people change tack, things happen, horses go sore. You know, it's very difficult to watch the markets. And as a jockey, really, I don't really want to watch the markets. You know if you're riding a $1.20 favourite, but you don't want that to play into your head or into your calculations in the race because anything can happen in a race. Horses don't know what their prices are. So you ride the horse that you're on for that race. So those future markets and that, I don't really have a look at it. Yes, it's good to know what you're going to be up against and what might not go there, but nothing's certain until scratching's day is done, is it?
It isn't. We know that for sure. Also, just on Zab Manzoor, so we'll see him very shortly. He is also not certain for the New Zealand Derby. So I want to give you all this information so you're playing on a level playing field. What do you take out of all of that? Orchestral should be favourite for the Derby and by quite some way. We headed down to Dunedin, one of the wonderful parts of the country, on Saturday for their feature race meeting of the year. The White Robe Lodge is the weight for age race, and well, let's dial it back. It was Groundhog Day because we had the horse in the Tangerine. Perfect Scenario doing exactly what he did in the same race last year.
Time's ticking's picking up, then the buffer out wider off the track for Rothen. Dazzling Miss is back, the outside Perfect Scenario. Here's Perfect Scenario launching a claim, will defend his crown. Perfect Scenario will win again. Perfect Scenario.
Hugely satisfying to see a horse like that go back to back. He's just an old marvel to have around the stable. He's just a gent, a stable favourite of everyone's. He just plods around it and he goes about his business and loves the stable life. Yeah, you know, a massive thank you to the team at home, especially Hunter and the team down here. You know, he's just grown a leg since he's come down here, and they're putting in the hard yards. So a massive thank you to them.
Yeah, he paraded in fantastic order, and he raced really well. It was a good ride from Narrandera. He seemed to be a confident rider out there.
Yeah, for sure. And the key was probably getting him to the outside of the track, the better ground. He sort of looked like he was floundering at the top of the straight, but he sort of came wider and wider and sort of found another leg. But really genuine horse. He just puts his best foot forward every time he goes out there. So yeah, just thrilled for him.
Were you always confident he was going to pick them up out wide?
Oh, halfway up the straight I was a little bit worried, but then I sort of seen him get out into that better ground. You're right, it was a fantastic rider, Palmer, and you know he's a massive part of the team as well, so it's great to see him get a result like that as well.
Do you keep him down here and maybe aim at a Canterbury Gold Cup, or what's the plan with him from here?
Yeah, for sure. I think probably it seems the logical step, although there is the Otaki Group 1, which he contested last year, so you know he is in fantastic form. We'll just have to get him home and go from there.
Well done to Palmer as well. It mentioned a huge part of the Tiaka there. Good, strong horse. He's won 9 races, 350 grand. Backs up in that race. Last year he went to the Otaki race and ran 4th behind Levante and Co. This year it could be quite strong. Pantura sitting there, possibly Desert Lightning. Just for those who like a bit of old school nostalgia, talking about Perfect Scenario. He's out of a mare called Rossetti Bay. Her biggest win came at Hastings in a Group 3. She beat a horse called Vegas Showgirl, who's the dam of Winks. Warren, you sometimes get in those tangerine colours in the South Island. It must be, well, it's good to get in the tangerine anywhere. Yeah. It must be good to get in them, particularly in the South Island. Yeah,
look, they've been really good to me, Tiaka. I've been fortunate enough to get in a lot of their horses, and it's just a natural occurrence, isn't it? Them picking up stakes races here, there and everywhere. So it's been really good for them. They're a strong stable, strong supporters of the industry here, so they deserve the success.
Yep, well, there were 3 stakes races out of Wingatui on Saturday, and they picked up a bit of black type in all 3 of them. One of the other features, one of the good races for the Southern 3-year-olds is the Dunedin Guineas, and a great welcome back to Terry Mosley, one of the champions of New Zealand racing. Terry's on 1,249 career successes, and after having a bit of a break with injury over the summer, he got the best here. Look for the blue and white colours, second from the outside, out of Collect the Cash for Shankar Miniondi.
Collect your cash from last steaming home. Collect your cash from nowhere wins the Guineas. Collect your cash has got the prize from Trakina in sense of timing. Epi Beale. They got swallowed up the leaders late.
Yeah, enormously popular win. Shankar's a really popular guy. Obviously, he still rides, but predominantly training these days. And Terry Mosley, one of the veterans and seniors of the riding ranks. Good to have him back there in the South Island, keeping everybody else on the straight and narrow. Produced a pearler there because same horse went to the Gore Guineas last start and got bogged down on the inside. Also got bogged down by my money. I backed on that occasion, so my apologies, Shankar. But it's done the job here, and clearly a 3-year-old with some ability. And look, you wouldn't have seen much of Terry Mosley. I suppose you've been to the South Island a few times, but he's got a good 10+ years on you. Yeah. He's been around for a while. He's ridden 1,249 winners. It's no small effort for a jockey to still be riding in his mid-50s.
No, absolutely. Look, like you said, he's been injured, and when you're older, those injuries take a bit longer to recover from. So for him to come back and look, he's riding really well. I think he had 2 on the day.
Well, 2 on the day, and I tell you what, I think really important to have those senior riders racing in the South Island. There's a greater level of inexperience down there. Do you find that when you go there, I presume half the jockeys you go there would be probably not that well known to you?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of new faces when I went down south for the first time, but I'll be honest with you, their riding is pretty good. Their paces are natural, they keep it flowing. Yes, you get 1 or 2 silly mistakes that are made, but you as a senior rider, you're able to adapt to it, and you keep the race flowing as best you can. You know, you try and stay out of the trouble and just keep the race moving forward. But look, it's always good to have senior riders around. They just seem to not only educate in a way the younger riders, but sort of lift them up a level. You know, they want to compete against the better riders, and it's always good to go down and be amongst them, and hopefully you can inspire a couple of the younger riders to improve their game a bit.
I'm sure it does. Also the first stakes winner for Regis, the Windsor Park stallion there, so well done to him. Actually a well-bred horse too. He's actually got some good relations close up in the family, and including Debt Collector, the very good former Singapore galloper. The Dunedin Gold Cup is it's almost the iconic race of Wingatui for the year. The White Robe Lodge is their biggest race, but the Dunedin Gold Cup goes to a young lady who I think is going from strength to strength as a rider and has really found a home many Saturdays in the South Island. Here's Jasmine Fawcett on Chikalia, so 2 Northerners taking out the Southern prize.
It's Chikalia, elegant ladies running home powerfully late. Chikalia sticks on and wins from last to first. Chikalia.
I had a good feeling about this horse today, being a shocking. I know that he loved the distance and he loved the ground, and that just showed today.
Geez, he's taken a little bit to pull up as well. He's full of running, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Tyler told me he wasn't sure he would be fit enough, but he definitely was.
Yeah, and you got into that dogfight late. Were you confident you'd still have the upper hand?
Yeah, absolutely. He was finding the line really strong.
Okay, so Kelvin Tyler taking over. He had Kilowatt win the same race a couple of years ago. And John and Colleen Thompson from Rich Hill, once that horse was retired, they said, we'll send this one down to you. Falls in beautifully there, Warren. Those horses who are good enough to be competitive in decent races in the North Island, gee, they can find a home in the South Island.
Yeah, absolutely. I've found that you get horses that can run sort of just off them in the races here. They go down there and they just seem to be a step higher level than what those horses are. And look, they seem to do well, can win 2-3 on the bounce and go through the divisions and just really, well, earn money for their owners, and they're not quite copping it up here. They go down there and they can win some nice races.
Well, this one clearly has many of the staying races in the south, you would think, well within its reach, because raced in a couple of sprint-type races, stepped up to 1800, won very well. The 2400 there, heads to 2600 next time at Invercargill. Just on Jasmine, she's on track for a career best season. She's had 39 wins this season. It's only February. who PB is 56. She's already up to 1.2 million in stakes and 2 black type races, and she's really found a home there as almost a senior jockey in the South Island and winning feature races like the Gore Guineas. And look, I think it's not a bad thing, Warren. Jasmine's been smart enough, as has her management, to say most Saturdays I'm going to make more money in the South Island than I am in the North Island, but she still rides here predominantly in the North Island, so she's got a foot in both camps. So I think it's good management for someone her age and at the stage of her career.
Absolutely. And there are a lot of young riders that are willing to travel and do all the hard yards, and nothing beats experience. Going down and riding in as many races as you can. You're not quite getting the opportunity up here because there's a lot of good riders up here, and those horses get filled up pretty quick by the good riders. And if you're a young rider battling, I mean, I'd probably go down south and just broaden your experience, ride as many races as you can, as many different horses as you can. The senior riders go down to the south to ride on those big days. If you can get a few rides in those races, it can only benefit you in the long run.
Yep, absolutely. Well done to Jasmine. Lots of people in the north here, lots of your friends really proud of how you were going down there. And of course, riding good horses in the North Island as well. So not forgetting you are well up to the standard up here, but down there you found a very lucrative home. Let's go back a few more days. Wednesday was Te Rapa. After a wild old week, Karaka Millions, and then into the sales, everybody popped along to Te Rapa for the Waikato Guineas, and it was a big lead up to what's about to happen next. Races like the Avondale Guineas and, of course, the Trackside New Zealand Derby. Not quite sure what to make of this. There was a lot going on in the last 200 metres. Ascend the Throne came out on top. It's a huge stakes week for Te Akau. There's Zab Manzoor, the favourite, looming up to win, peaking late.
Zab Manzoor, Ascend the Throne in the centre, list for Boston, and Moss Invader had a crack at it right on the line. It's close. Ascend the Throne, Moss Invader, storming home was what you wish for. And right
very much a derby crop, I would suggest, from the boys' point of view, on the move. Some horses not going forward, some horses heading forward, and Ascend the Throne, who's a son of Savabeel, sold by Milan Park, arriving as a derby prospect at the right time. Spoke to Robert Weld about Zab Manzoor. He said, look, probably peaked on the run a touch, and they are not thinking so much the derby, not because he can't stay, they're thinking the firm track there, maybe, suggesting he's had a long summer and a bit of travel. He might just be coming toward the end of it. The winner heads to the Derby. Mark Walker telling me this morning that first and third there are a yes for the Derby, as does Tokyo Tycoon. They're thinking he could potentially be a Derby horse. And the second horse, Moss Invader, Lance O'Sullivan said, yep, we are heading to the Derby, and they've won, I think, 2 of the last 3. So here's the Derby market clearly, very clearly, from all the information we have found in the last hour or so. Orchestral deserves to be favourite. Then there's a clump of horses, including Just As Sharp, who was wicked in the 3-year-old race on Karaka Million Night. I haven't asked the team about Lupo Solitario. We'll find out for next week's show whether he goes around in the Derby. But Warren, for me, Orchestral stands out there, the filly, over what appears to be a very even clump of boys.
Yeah, absolutely. I've ridden Orchestral. I think she's a star. She proved it Karaka Millions Night. She absolutely trounced them once she got clear air and she really realised what she's got to do. She ran away from the field. She's just a class above them, I think. You know, she deserved favourite. With regards to the boys, yeah, it looks like an even clump. I thought Ascend the Throne was very good. It's only being his 3rd start, so I thought he did really well to win that race, showed a lot of grit. But then the rest of them, there's a big clump of horses right on Ascend the Throne, so it'll be interesting.
We're going to know a lot more after the Avondale Guineas back at Ellerslie on Saturday week. By the way, just on last week's show on Weigh-In, we discussed the incident at Riccarton where a starter's attendant was in front of the gate as they jumped. No starters' attendants or horses were hurt in that false start, thank God. And we did mention on the time that we thought it was basically a case of the starter letting the horses go. As it turned out, we didn't get a chance. It was a very busy weekend last weekend, obviously lots going on, to look into the Stipe Henry Stewards report. It was actually a starting gate malfunction that opened the gates, so it wasn't the starter or any of the starter's assistants at fault for that. So our apologies if we gave you the impression that it was actually an error. It was a mistake in the starting mechanism which opened the gates lights when the starter's assistant was in front of the gate. Most importantly, nothing wrong, nothing bad happened to any of the horses or the starter's assistant. And of course, the team down there at Riccarton do a super job. So we have full respect for what is one of the trickier jobs in racing. Bit of clarification there from the weigh-in team. We'll take a break here. On the other side, we're going to talk more about a New Zealand winner who's from Caulfield off to the All-Star Mile. Wrap the sails, and we're going to talk to Warren about his rides and what's coming up for the biggest day of the year at Te Rapa.
Just another lover to get high with. Just another lover to abide with. Just another lover who won't go undercover.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Things have been a little bit quieter over the Tasman in the last couple of weeks as we have been the stars of the show. That's about to change. They have some serious races coming up over the next 2 or 3 months. A horse who's going to star in one of those is Jimmy. Jimmy's Star, the former New Zealand galloper, still owned over here, went to Caulfield and won a rating 84. On Saturday, he has absolutely smashed them over there. He's the chestnut in the Aussie Kerr colours, and after this he was invited to the All-Star Mile.
Two slaps, it's 2 in front of Who Dares, and Jimmy Star's going to power away. This is a nice horse. Jimmy Star won it well from Who Dares and Forbidden City. Fourth, a photo, Imperial Lad, Ton of Grit, then Magnus Spin Conqueror, Brung King, Elkington Road, and Japanese Emperor amongst the tail.
Yes, Matty Hill, you're right. He is a nice horse. He's a proper horse by Purin Canto, so the Little Avondale team sharing in the ownership of him. Still, he's off to the All-Star Mile. They've accepted the invitation from Matt Walsh, the head of racing at Racing Victoria. So All-Star Mile, Mr. Brightside, of course Pride of Jenny, and our boy, who's not in the market yet, but will be at some stage. Desert Lightning's a horse you would know, Warren. You'd see a bit of him out there at Briley Park. He's not a horse you get to ride very often because he's Vinnie Colgan's horse, but they sound like they're going to the All-Star Mile, and I think an on-pace runner around Caulfield, they might have found the right race.
Yeah, I think they have. Look, it's a little bit up in the air. I don't know if Pete's quite made up his decision if they are going. But look, I think it's the right race for him. He's a horse that can get on speed pretty easily. Travels really well. His racing mannerism has changed a lot from when he was a 3-year-old to now. He's really just come to the fore as a 4-year-old, and he's just done nothing wrong since he's been back. So I'd have a crack at it for sure.
Why not? Big money, nearly $4 million for the All-Star Mile. Peter Williams saying they are going to decide this week, but they're pretty keen to go, and we'd love to see him in Dawn with a good representative over there, the horse who won the first Aotearoa Classic. Okay, the sales finished last Friday. It was a massive week at Karaka. Well done to NZB and everybody involved. New record figures. Let's go back over the 3 days of Book 1, then show you the stats from Book 2. We reported last week on weigh-in the $1.6 million filly sold by Hallmark, by Prasia, the half to Prowess. Don't you love a bit of theatre? We all love a bit of theatre. Let's go back to a bit of Steve Davis conducting the orchestra in the Sir Patrick Hogan Auditorium.
You don't run second. You don't run second. 1,000,006. 1,000,006. Here's the gavel. At 1,000,006, you can make it yours. Put the hand up, make it yours. At 1,000,006, here's the gavel, and I sell up, I sell her out, I sell her down below to James's call to 1,600,000. You're out for 1,600,000. Well, thanks for the hand. 1,600,000 down left. Peter Moody,
Yeah, proper judge Peter Moody bought that horse off Mark and Vicky Baker from Hallmark Stud. I can't remember being on the sales ground and seeing so many people happy about a rival sale. There were handshakes, hugs, and there was cheering in other tents. Yep, that's exactly what happened after that filly. Fillies were some of the stars of the week. We saw a Satona Aladdin also sell for 900,000 on the day. Let's go back and look at her. Beautiful looking type of a horse, and what a day for Rich Hill Stud. First Prasia, then Satono, producing 2.5 million worth of horses. Here's the closing stages of her moment.
75. Your sort of increments. No, is that $1 million? No, well, I was just asking. 900,000. 900,000. 900,000. You want one big bold one, or do you go a little one again and test the water? 900,000. 900,000. A little one? No more. 900,000. 900,000. I'm going to sell left. I sell her out. You miss her. Here's the gavel. It's up. Gone. Too big. Too strong. Guy Mulcaster. 900,000.
Is that $1 million? I know you don't go to the sales very often, Warren, but Steve on a good day is as good as it gets. He's like you and Opie in the saddle. He's just got a gavel instead of a whip.
I know, he's brilliant. He comes down to South Africa and does a couple of sales there too, so I know him. Yeah, they just know their craft really well, don't they?
Do they what?
They know how to get that extra 5 out of everyone.
Is that $1 million? Oh, Steve, you're going to try. If you don't ask, you don't know, as you would say. Let's go to day 2. Top lot there was back to the boys this time, so we've head to a boy now. Stitzel Colton. He was a ripper. He's one of those horses who genuinely actually does have. People say it all the time. He's got a stallion pedigree. Well, this one did have one, and David Ellis wanted this horse. Let's see if he goes home with it.
It's 775,000. I'm going to sell to my man. It's 775,000 first time. 775,000 out. 800. 825. Straight back at you. 825. You're out. 825 is my man. 825 is my man. 825,000. What do we say? 825,000. I'm going to sell. At 825,000. We go. I sell. Is it a half bid or is it a bid? At 825 goes for 825,000. Yeah, it's over there. You called it.
Cambrai gets to knock down the biggest lot on day 2. Mark Walker shakes hands with the boss, David Ellis, and that one was almost sold by Friday. There was 20% still left in him by Friday. I would suggest it won't stick around for long, but he will be a standalone horse. He won't be going into a colt syndicate, so he's a horse you can buy into without buying into other horses. 29 for the week, by the way, from Tiakau. Huge numbers through their machine over the last month or so, and they still have plenty of shares left. You can go to their website if you need to know more. The biggest lot on day 3, well, Wooten Bassett has arrived in the Southern Hemisphere. He's been knocking around the Northern Hemisphere for a while, but he's arrived in the Southern Hemisphere, and he has arrived in all parts of Australasia for the sales scene with a huge thud.
I sell her at 7, be quick, 75. 775 at 775 bid at 775 800 now I've got 800 they say 800 a bit here I get 800 now 800 the money at $800,000 buys all done. I cash her at 800. Be quick, we're going to cash her at 800 a bid. I'll take it 20. 800 I've got at $800,000 buys her. Would you be 20 quickly? All done. I cash her at 800. Happy? 800 buys. Outright, thank you.
Morgan Carter gets top auctioneer rights on the 3rd day of Book 1, and man, Wooten Bassett can leave a horse. God, some of them are striking. Okay, Book 1 ended on Tuesday night, and as you can see, almost 10 million more in total aggregate. The average up by a thumping $16,500. Clearance race at 78. There'll still be some trade to go there, and 473 lots sold. So a great day. Then we went Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with Book 2. The last day of Book 2 was a barn burner. Really surprised. They came out with a whole bunch of 6-figure lots. Eventually, the trade was around the same level as last year. Average was more or less the same. So all the stats there from Book 2 look exactly like the same stats from Book 2 last year. That's pretty good, considering the Goldie was down on Book 2, both at clearance and at aggregate. So for a Book 2 to hold its own here, really well done. Combined stats, nearly 92 million in trade. There'll still be some to done, so 92 million will be the top figure. That's 10 million more than last year. The average up by $11,000. This is over both sales. Medium up, clearance comparable to last year. All in all, a very, very successful week for New Zealand Bloodstock. There's the top lots. And talk about stallion diversity. We talked about quite a bit on the preview shows. Prasia, Satono, Snitzel, Wooten Bassett, Zoostar, Superseth, Kingman, Savabeel. The top 8 lots at Karaka were by 8 different stallions. Takes a bit of doing. Well done to all the vendors, well done to New Zealand Bloodstock, Andrew Seabrook and his team. It was a long, long week, but a lot of money has gone into the pockets of the people in this industry. Have you ever been to the sale and had a dig? As a jockey, I presume you've got enough horses, you don't need to be putting your hand up for another one. Do you ever attend the sales?
Yeah, I have attended a few sales. Like Barbara, my wife, she was training in South Africa, so I never went to the yearling sales and that sort of thing, that 2-year-old sales. I didn't have that much money that I could carry them for the first year of their career before they start racing. So yeah, I bought a couple of horses, gave it to my wife to train, and she did well with them. You know, they ran decent races, they won a couple, and that's all it was about, having a bit of fun.
Now, there's another reason you don't need to go to the sales. A lot of our viewers won't know this, but you don't drink. Sales is a great place to go for a drink. You drink water, obviously, you don't drink alcohol. Have you never been a drinker, or was it something you gave up as your career started to get busier? Because it's a very rare thing in racing to have someone who doesn't at least have a wine once in a while.
Yeah, look, used to drink. Everyone when they're younger has a few, and
were you any good at it?
Yeah, I held my own.
Oh, good.
I held my own. For my weight category, I was pretty good. But yeah, once I got serious about racing and really focused on my career, I just done away with that. There was racing all the time and want to be focused all the time, and just didn't find the time to go out and have drinks, and just really lost the taste for it after a while.
Okay, well, it'll save you some money. So Warren Kennedy, for the young kids out there, if you want to stay in shape and keep focused, maybe a life lesson there. We'll take a break, come back. By the way, I'm occasionally having a drink, just full disclosure there, don't want to lie to the public. We'll come back on the other side of this and talk about Warren's rides at Te Rapa. Their mega day is coming up this Saturday.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
It's going to be an absolute boomer this Saturday at Te Rapa. Herbie Dyke, of course, we have the BCD Sprint, we have the new Karapiro Classic, named in honour of the great Sir Patrick Hogan, and the Ellis Classic. You can't ride them all, Warren Kennedy, and you love Crocetti, and I'm sure you really, really like Waitak, but you had to choose one. So you've gone for Crocetti as your ride in the BCD Sprint. Is that because he's the best chance, or is that because he's your favourite horse?
Look, it's probably more my allegiance to Daniel. And look, he's a very good horse. It's going to be the test for him. This BCD Sprint going against the older horses. It's going to be his acid test, and I think from there they're going to decide whether they're going Australia with him or not. But look, he is a good horse. He's done nothing wrong. I think he can step up to the level, and he's been really good to me. Daniel's been really good to me, and may as well keep it going.
Well, okay, the other option you had, among others, in the BCD Sprint was your railway winner in Waitak, and you've had some amazing wins since you came to New Zealand. This might be the most amazing. What he did at Pukekohe on New Year's Day, it must have been a surreal feeling. Just for those who haven't seen this, here you are last, and then very shortly, you're first. Talk us through the path you found here.
Yeah, look, originally I looked to go to the outside. I wanted to follow probably Dragon Leap out a bit. Then that happened in front of me, that shifting, and it just opened up like the Red Sea in front of me, and he just started to kick into gear, and I was able to keep him on that same leg and just going in a straight line, absolutely. And geez, he just flashed home that day, didn't he?
It must be fun when you're going that fast in between horses to win a Group 1. It must be very exhilarating.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, for a while down the straight, he felt like he wasn't going to get going. And he didn't feel like he was giving me much, but once there was movement in front of him and he able to stay on that leg, he just sort of quickened really sharply, and you're running past horses, Group 1 level horses at that speed, with the line still well in distance of winning it. Oh, it's a great feeling. You just scoot past him. You know nothing's going to accelerate better than him, so you got the race in the bag.
Occasionally you and Opie Boston have played musical saddles on a couple of the Tiaka horses. Now you play it on these horses. Opie takes the ride on Waitak. Let's put them in barriers 3 and 4. Let's make it neutral because the barrier draw is not till Wednesday morning. Who do you think's actually the better chance of winning this race? Loyalties aside, who's the better chance?
It's a tough one. Look, the better chance, I'd probably lean towards Waitak. He's been there, he's done it. Over this distance as well, it's probably in his niche, that 1400, where he wants to be, you know. Crescetti's changed, he's developing still as a horse. He's got longer instead of getting taller, which has extended his stride, which is very interesting because he's got a phenomenal stride in him already. So he would be, I would say, his niche would be the 1200, but that could have changed a bit now because the way he's lengthened, the 14 could be his best trip at the moment. So it's a very interesting one and not an easy decision to make. The draw is going to be pivotal in it. We know Waitak will probably get a bit back, and if Crescetti draws well, I'll get forward. So he'll have that advantage, but we know Waitak's going to be flashing home. So it's going to be a very interesting race. I'm actually really looking forward to it, and look, hopefully I'm on the right one.
It's going to be fun. But by the way, both horses had been offered a slot in the Quokka, which is the $5 million slot race in Perth. Daniel Narclay telling me, absolute no. Crescetti is not going to the Quokka. So it's not going. So take that $10 out of your head. Waitak's been offered a slot as well. They haven't made a decision and won't make any decision until after this week, but somebody thinks he's going because he's been $41 to 18. By no means are we saying they're going to turn up in Perth and win. It's a very deep field, and Amelia's Jewel, the local superstar, is more than likely going to be there. But yes, looking for some news for the Quokka over the next week or two. Maybe Saturday we'll decide whether Waitak is heading to Perth. The Herbie Dyke is, of course, one of the great races on the calendar. $600,000. Well done to Butch and the team and the Dyke family getting us to that level. Here's Desert Lightning winning. He's not going to be there, but who is going to be there? The horse who runs second here, Legato, spoke to Ken Kelso last night. She is confirmed for the Herbie, and then the Bone Crusher on March the 9th as she chases down the summer bonus.
Rudyard, but Desert Lightning, he is brilliant. Desert Lightning ran them into the deck. Legato second, third over was Rudyard.
I thought there, Warren, two things. First of all, great ride by Vinny on the winner, but I thought Legato actually raced like she's ready for 2000.
Yeah, it looks that way. Great ride by Vinny, was able to get from that draw into a great position like he did in Wellington. Same sort of thing. That horse kicked away and won a good race. 2 Group 1 winners, run first and second. Take nothing away from Legato. I thought when we had rain on that day, that course got a little bit shifty, and I don't know if she was quite comfortable on it. I don't say she would have beaten Desert Lightning. He had the race in the bag, but she just seemed a little bit uncomfortable and only really got going really late. So the 2000 looks right up her alley. Okay, so Campionessa will go to the race. She ran second last year to Sharp and Smart, who is back to defend his title. He needs a new jockey because Ryan Elliott is going to stick with Legato, of course, and Mark Zara, who rode the horse at Ellerslie, is not going to be there. So Matt Cameron, good on you, Matt, who's having a great black type season since he came back. He's had 5 black type wins. Matt will take the reins on Sharp and Smart. He actually rode him to win the Champagne Stakes as a 2-year-old, beating, of all horses, Waitak, who is going to go around the BCD Sprint. Also the Alice Classic, Molly Bloom will headline that over Mary Shan. It's going to be a ripper. And the Sir Patrick Hogan Carapiro Classic. So all of that coming up with a huge team on track for Trackside on Saturday. They'll be previewing it. There'll be lots of videos this week. Get behind Te Rapa. It is going to be a hell of a day out there to Butch and the team. Hope you have a ripper down there in Hamilton. Premierships, interesting. You're still in front. So here it is, 80. You're holding Nabba by 7 and you're on track to win the most money ever by a New Zealand jockey. That was 4.8 by Nabba last year. You're on 3.9. I'll put it to you straight now because people can bet on this. Do you want to win the premiership? Are you going to try and win the premiership? What does it mean to you? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go for the premiership. Absolutely silly if I say I'm not. I mean, I'm 7 in front and we're halfway through. So definitely going to go for it. It's something that I've wanted. I earmarked that when I first came to New Zealand, I want to win a premiership. The whole plan of me coming to New Zealand was not to race as much as I was in South Africa, because Africa is full on racing 364 days a year. So I wanted to spend a lot more time with my family. Made a deal with my wife. She's been very gracious. Said I'll win one premiership in New Zealand and I will not chase another one. If another one comes along, so be it.
So you're chasing this one?
This is the one I'm chasing. And look, if I don't get it, maybe I'll chase another one. But if I win this one, that's what I want. I can back off a little bit and enjoy my family life and get a nice balance with it.
Okay, you heard it here first. Maybe the $1.60 is good money, although Michael McNabb has won the last two and is also pretty darn good. We have a premiership race. Here's a race coming up of a different sort, the Lightning, in a couple of weeks at Flemington, and Imperatrice is heading there. This is fresh off the machine this morning. Here is her trial. So Imperatrice, and of course the Te Akau colours. This is at Cranbourne this morning, over 800 metres, and a very serious trial. Bella Nipotina is here. There's Group 1 horses all through this. So what you're going to see here, we've seen this is about an hour ago, is we're seeing she's not being asked for too much. She's not going to have the blinkers on, and it's a typical good horses, lazy, I'm having a day out at the office trial. So Warren, as we're watching this, you and I watch this together, she gets asked a little bit later on, and to the eye you go, well, what did I make of that? But they can do this, the older good horses, can't they? They can take the trials as a bit of a laugh.
Absolutely. I'm of a firm opinion that a good horse can basically train themselves. They know when to exert themselves and when not to. She probably knows it's just a trial, no blinkers on, so it's a non-pressure workout. And she took advantage of that. She just sort of went through it and enjoyed herself.
Mate, it's been great to have you here while Emily's away at the Disco Dancing Champs out there at Franklin. Mate, thanks for coming in. Thanks for everything you're bringing to New Zealand racing. We're really enjoying it, and thanks to Barb for all the support she gives you and the kids to allow you to do it. How'd you enjoy co-hosting? Any good?
I enjoyed it, yeah.
Oh, good.
Quite an easy job. No, look, you guys can keep it. I'm not very good on the camera.
The last time Warren Kennedy comes on board as a co-host. Emily will be back next week with Butch to dissect a huge day out of Te Rapa. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
Thanks, mate.